This is the Big Woods Bucks Podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine master guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights into the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks Podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood. And once again, we're down here at Lake Parlin Lodge. And sitting here with my co-host, Joe Cruzy.
Hello.
And the bad Lee couldn't make it again. So we got the good Lee filling in for him.
Morning.
That it?
Glad to be here, Hal.
Okay.
Boy, I love the look on Lee's face. Yeah. He's like, what else do you want me to say?
Yeah. And today we're gonna have a bunch of stuff going on in this podcast.
Did you introduce Logan, or did I miss that?
Slow down.
He's setting me up.
Give me a minute.
I could have missed it. So
we got a lot of things going to happen on this podcast, but first thing's going to happen is we got Logan Rackliff on here. He's going to tell his big deer story from last year when Timmy beat out his rack and his weight, and he lost the bet.
Brutal.
Somebody's going to take Timmy down, right?
Yep. No shooting small bucks. That's what you're going to do, yeah.
Sometimes it happens fast, and you can't score them up on the hoof, huh? You can't weigh them up on the hoof.
That's the thing, I guess. I still got the biggest buck, I suppose, so.
Yeah.
223 to 195, and you're short. That's how it goes.
Well, you got one of them classic stubby rack ones. Those are the ones I usually shoot anyway, so join the club, huh?
Yep, been there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Nice heavy rack, but not much tine length.
Does Logan call everyone else and text everyone else, or is it just me asking how big everyone's deer is once they're shot? I think he lays awake and...
Yeah.
It was mostly you, because I know you're scoring a lot. And Hal was having trouble getting back to people last fall. So, but I got a buddy at home. He's all about scoring. He pulls it up on the computer. He's like right on. It's kind of scary. So he pretty much had him pegged.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had that problem last fall. It's pretty good now with my texting. It was some glitch with the AT&T service in town here. It was the weirdest thing. I had 4G LTE and 5 bars on the phone, and I wouldn't get a text for 4 or 5 days. It's crazy. They'd all come in at once. I'd go downtown and bing, 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 bing. I'd have 25 texts, you know.
Yep.
But you can text me now, Logan.
All right. I figured.
Yeah. So, anyways, here we are in the spring talking about last deer season again, which is good.
Never gets old.
Nope.
So, Logan, you're one of them guys that just toodly-doos off into the woods once in a while and shoots a buck. You don't have to hunt very much, right?
It's funny.
You're one of them guys.
I'm getting that reputation now, sure. Yeah. It's weird.
You're going to get a lot of hate mail, though.
Well, I think if people knew how many thousands of miles I put on for the first, 18 years of my hunting career of seeing nothing in the Maine woods, and letting 4 to 6 pointers go, you might understand. I spent a lot of time in the woods, so.
Yeah.
But then tracking too. I mean, with tracking you can do it. So.
Yeah. I still remember when you come up for the deer clinic there. Yeah. You had all kinds of questions before you showed up. And
Logan had questions?
Yeah, you had all kinds of questions there. And then after he got done the class, I'd get these texts that were about 9 miles long or 17.
I'm a detail guy.
I said, you're going to have to call me about this stuff. I'm not typing that back.
Well, you can just, it just shows you've been in the woods a lot. I probably was in the woods as much as any other kid could be up in the North Maine woods till I was 20,
Yeah, so you said your father took you up there when you were 13 or something.
Since I was 5, and obviously you couldn't hunt till I was 10. But
that's an education.
Yeah. So all the prep was there. I just didn't, it was really, going to house class and reading books is more of a mental opening of a lock that you can do it tracking more so than anything. And he's like, oh yeah, you'll get him. He's good at giving you confidence. So that was good. But so yeah, I guess maybe I'll just go into the story a little bit on that. speaking of that, shooting, well, I got the one with Joe and Lee here that day. That was a little more walking up on one, but there's 2 deer that I've tracked. I spent no time in the woods that year, no scouting. I went off into pieces of woods that there's very few deer in. I mean, like guys I know in my crew don't go there because it's a long ways, and there's really not many deer there. And the deer are pretty much hanging around the rivers, and so I wanted to get into that a little bit. I wanted to tell my story a little bit about kind of my walk with God. When I was younger, 4 or 5, going up through, I went to church. Then around 6 or 7, and it was always good. Around 6 or 7, I decided it wasn't cool, so I stopped going. I got that choice. Went up through middle school, was good at sports, doing all the things you would do. Got into high school, started partying, like as you see on TV and movies, and what all your friends are doing. Partied pretty hard from the time I was 15 to 20, 22. Around the time I was 20, I was really quite a mess. Partying and doing all kinds of just not everything I guess you could think of, but just a mess and drinking pretty heavy.
You mean that dumb stuff?
All the dumb stuff. You could probably, and I've got it in my genetics, alcoholic, pretty close. So I remember one time I was going up north actually with my dad, and he told me something. I had a fantasy childhood coming up, doing all this stuff with my dad. We could go and, just a safe home. And he told me about some kind of family news and just kind of rattled things that I'd never been rattled at my home before. And I was just like, I was already a mess, and that really just sent me down in this low place. So, I was just down and out for a long time. I remember coming home for Christmas break. I'd usually go with my buddies and party some more, and I would just hung out at home. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. I know what I'm doing is wrong, and it didn't feel good, and I was a mess. So I started going to church again, and hear the message, and the place I was going, the guy would always, at the end, he always does what they call an altar call. If you want to accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, they call you up, and I couldn't quite do that. But I remember one time he just said, you could do it right there in your seat. You just admit, you just tell God, I know I'm a sinner, and I know Jesus died on the cross for me, and I accept that he's my Lord and Savior. And then you've accepted Christ in your heart. So I did that, and life, it wasn't like, bam, life got all of a sudden everything's great, but slowly I could party less. Not long after that, I met Hannah. God put a great girl into my life, and I'm so thankful for that. And we got married a few years later, drinking less. So good things, but then in our marriage, we were we were going to church and stuff. It was more just going through the motions. It wasn't really walking with God at all. And so we were just trying to I think people think of marriage as just this other person has to give me all the things I want. You marry them because you think that they fit everything that is right for you. That's what the movies in the world teach us, that love is some crazy emotion and you have some perfect fit. And but so we got to a place in our marriage where we were just man, things aren't working. And we talked to a pastor, and he was like, hey, you just showed us that in the Bible it says you need to leave and cleave on your we were going to our parents' churches, and it was a struggle. And so we went to a different church where there's other young families our age, and brought us in. And I spoke with the pastor that day, this new church, and you guys feel free to ask any questions, but I just started meeting with him once a week, going through the Bible, and I just got to tell everybody it was just, totally changed my life. Lots of peace, lots of just, I was the most selfish person on the planet. And you mean
you'd push your buddies down and get a shot at a buck, right?
Oh, geez, yeah, maybe. I don't know anybody who does that. But I would. So I'm just so thankful for that. So I want to tell that story a little bit to get to this. That those 2 days I shot those bucks. Those are really intense times in my life. I think both years we were building or moving out of houses. We have a growing business, a lot of stress and pressure there, new children. So just a lot going on at home and just stress out. But I have this massive passion for hunting. Like, I just think about it all year long. And it's like when hunting season is going on, it's just, I just got to get up there. And it's really a struggle.
Let me ask you something there to interrupt.
Yeah.
Now, you keep saying these 2 bucks. You mean
I'll get more into it.
Okay, the first 2 you killed.
No, so the first one I got tracking, that 239 one at the end of the season.
Right.
That I had hunted quite a bit that season. The next year I came up when you went out to Montana.
Right.
That crazy front came through.
Right.
That was my first day in the woods.
Right.
That day. And I went out, I just struck off into a place that I like going out there, but there's really no deer. And it was blowing like 50. And I wasn't a tracking shape or anything, and I just went up there and I got that buck. He was 248. You know, I came across and he had gotten up in the middle of at the end of that kind of front. And even though his tracks were blowing in, you could barely see him. You know, I followed him up, and an hour later I got him.
I was just trying to clarify that because you kept saying 2 bucks, and I'm thinking, well, he's tracked 2 and then this one last year. So
right. Well, I'll connect them. So both of these bucks, I had a lot going on those years. So I prayed. I always pray, but I don't try to use God to get stuff that I want. Or I hope I don't pray like that. But a lot of time I probably am.
Guilty as charged.
That's right. Yeah. So it was this.
A lot of people do that and wonder why they don't get nothing.
Well, exactly. I was just like, so I honestly, I do not like this prayer because it's not about, since being on the team, it's a little bit more about getting for a buck for me. Maybe it's for the pride of the team, but also I want to, you know, people pay attention more when you shoot bucks. So if I want to spread some ministry and get the big woods buck stuff out there, you know, they pay attention more when you get them. So, but anyway, where was I going with that? So I prayed this. I prayed God. I was just like, I would want to just basically not get a deer for most of the season and get one like later on so I could just hunt. It's all about the adventure for me. I just love being out in the woods. I was like, if it's your will today, this might be a good time. I really hate to pray that, but
hang on, I'm writing this down.
That's right. I'll get more into. But I was so. Both those days I got bucks, and I'll tell the recent story in a second. But I mean, I'm just telling you, I just got to give credit where it's due, and that happened. I'm not saying if you pray for a buck a certain way, it's going to happen. If you accept Christ as your Lord and Savior and pray, you're going to kill deer. I mean, the Bible does not say that. No. It says things are going to be tough, and but you're going to have a lot of hope. But in those situations, now I believe that I got those bucks because I'm talking about them now. So people are hearing about God. You're hearing about him right now. And also so I could be home to support my family the way they needed to. And I don't want to call my passion for buck hunting a burden, but getting the buck, honestly, is a relief for everybody around me. So anyway, I'll get into the story. You mean except for your buddies that hate you because you get one like that? Yeah, that's right. I know. It's so fun because I was always the guy that the crew was always like, man, I hope Logan gets one. He's due. You know, he's been up here for years, and now I've shown up twice and just watched, and then I've done it to you guys. So, but anyway,
that wasn't Lee and I's conversation that morning. It was like, we hope Logan gets one.
No, that was funny. So anyway, I got up. This was the Friday before Thanksgiving. That was the first day I'd gotten up there. I used to get out, you know, bird hunting and all that stuff, but no scouting or anything. Now, my dad's up there a lot of my crew. So I get some reports, I guess, but they don't usually hunt the places I like to go to, but at least they could kind of tell me what the snow conditions are. And so I went up, and where I come from now, it's a lot further drive in, so there's a place that I'd like to hunt, but it's so far to get there. I just said, well, there's this other mountain I'd like to go to. I've been up there a few times, but man, there's just no deer up there. And they've cut it hard. But I kept texting some of the crew, and I think the snow had come like Sunday, and it was there all week. I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 inches, and it must have stayed cold enough all week to be there that week. but I think it melted like the first time and froze every night. So I don't think it was good tracking that week, if I remember. So it was supposed to be really warm Friday. So I was just thinking of this mountain, and I was like, I'm just going to strike out there. I'm going to come in from this area. And that was my plan anyway. And the way the wind's blowing, I'm going to be going right into it. So I went up to this area, and right where, if there is going to be a track, there was a track there, this buck and doe. And that was like right after daylight. So it had come off. It had already starting to soften up, which I was surprised. So that kind of aged all the tracks a little bit. And it was still kind of dark. I couldn't see things quite how I wanted to, so I just kind of stomped the tracks out. And I just decided to keep driving and drive all I could to make sure he didn't cross the road anywhere else. So by the time I got back, it was probably an hour or so, and my dad had actually put a camera in that spot. So we met up right at those tracks and went in the woods together. He had a camera in there, and so we went in, and he took off. There's like a tote road that runs. You come off the mountain, and there's a nice hardwood ridge, and then it kind of flattens out, and it gets in the green. Well, nice hardwood ridge. It's murdered now, but it gets in the green, and then there's a huge swamp, and this tote road runs, right where you'd think it would in the transition zone there, old one. And so he was walking out that, and I was following the tracks, and we were pretty much on the same line, how you'd think you'd be. And then my tracks kind of went off down in the green a little bit, and I chased them, and then there was a couple more tracks, and I did that for a few minutes, and I was just like, I'm just going to let them do their thing in there. Like, this is a pretty good track. I think it's a pretty good buck, but I'm just going to go with Dad for a while. I can always come back to it, and I just haven't been in the woods with him, and I was like, see what's on his camera, right? Or maybe I was hoping they would just come back out, and I wouldn't have to go sort all that out. And so we went on a ways further, about a half a mile. They did come back out. They were fresher then, so things went to plan there kind of. But I looked him over. I just walked by him. I wanted to see what he had on his camera, so we got to his camera, checked it, and boy, the snow had been there a long time, and there wasn't many tracks. There was one near the end. There was one set of big boy tracks. I don't know if those are his or the one I got or not, but looked at his camera. It's just like the ugliest 4-pointer you've ever seen on it. Pretty good size body though, so I was like, oh man, I hope that's not this deer. But anyway, we go to walk back out together, and Dad's like, oh, what are you gonna do? I'm like, well, I think I'm gonna go back and get on those tracks, and I'm gonna be here for the day. And he's like, what are you, nuts? There's no deer out here. This is ridiculous. This camera's been here for like a month, and it's on a signpost up, and this is what you're gonna say. I was like, it's 8 o'clock, and like, I am just gonna be on this mountain. That's where the snow is. I'm gonna just hope I can find something, and I think that's a pretty good buck. He did go through a couple trees that I was like, I don't really love that, but so anyway, went on the way out, got on those tracks, followed those tracks for a while. Like I said, all the tracks look fairly similar because they were made in the crust, right? So once things start softening up, I mean, yeah, you could tell, but man, it was really tough to tell. So we're going a ways, and after half a mile or so, start seeing a few more tracks, and then it starts getting in a transition zone where you're like, okay, this is where some deer should be, and there was. All of a sudden, there's some more tracks, and I was like, oh, now we're maybe on a little like deer run. I don't think there was a ton of deer there. I mean, the snow had been there for 5 days, but anyway, so we kept going, and we got into a place, the tracks kind of started going everywhere, and it was tough to sort those out. It looked like mine went to the right down a little bit, but then it looked like they went straight, and so I was like, okay, sorted them out the best I could. I was like, well, I'm just going to keep going straight. It's into the wind, and I'm pretty sure that's still them. So kept going, and all of a sudden I hit a scrape, and I was like, all right, good sign. And he had laid one down. He was fired up. And then we didn't go too much further, and we ran into a little ash tree right where things were crossing, brown ash, and he'd rubbed that all up, brown ash tree, I was like, oh. And he rubbed it up good. I got it on film, and I'm getting pretty excited now. So we go past that, and all of a sudden I see tracks coming at me, and I'm like, oh, crap. Or no, I'm not like, oh, crap, but I'm just thinking, usually when you see that, you gain some time because they've come out and gone somewhere else, right? Well, it was weird because it was really tough to age the tracks, and from what I could tell, I still thought the ones that were going straight were the newest ones. So I just kept on going straight, and got in. We started getting into actually a nice hardwood spot they had kind of left. And I just kept going, and I could see down in. I'm up on the ridge a little bit. I could see down in. It was actually pretty hardwoods, and then you could see down in the green, right? Picture perfect. And I'm looking a little bit, and all of a sudden I see fresh tracks coming at me. These have been made since it started melting. This is probably 9 o'clock now, and I just stopped because I'm like, wow, these deer have to be right here. And I walk around. I try to start doing like a little bit of a circle to try to figure out what's going on. And then I see another set, and I'm just like, wow, these deer are right here somewhere. Like, this has not been melting long. And just about the time I stopped, I just heard a whoo down the ridge, and I'm like, oh, they got me. And I look down, I see some deer going. I couldn't see them that well. And 2 or 3 went. So the way the wind was blowing, I just stopped, and I blew my grunt. And what I did was and this is kind of like I don't know if a technique of mine or what, but it's similar to Hal's stop and wait a half an hour. But when it's really cold, it wasn't cold that day, but like I also can't sit very well. My feet get cold. So what I've been doing is just doing like a loop and coming back around instead of just sitting in one spot. So I went way back. I just kind of get out of sight, and I was doing this loop, maybe half-mile loop, and I just got out of sight of them. Well, I got higher up on the ridge, and I could see there's just tracks there everywhere. I could see that buck, and I could see some does, but I don't know what was down below me. So I was like, whatever, I'm just going to loop these deer. So I went back 1/4 mile, hit a stream, chased that down to the green, so I had noise cover because it wasn't windy. Got right at the edge of the green down there, found like the biggest signpost I've ever found in my life. There wasn't one track past it in those 5 days, though. It had been hit earlier, but so I took a video of that. And I got in the green, and it, like I said, it was deathly quiet. And I'm like, how am I going to get close to these deer? So I stuck the grunt tube in my mouth, and I got in the green where I was hidden, and I'd go 100 yards, blow my grunt tube, stop. I just did that 2 or 3 times, and I just stopped, and I was like, man, I must be getting close to these things if they're here. And I just stopped for a while, and then I heard ch-ch-ch, and I was like, oh. And then I heard it again. And I heard something way down in the green, but then something kind of more in front of me all of a sudden happened. And then a doe pops out of the green out into the open hardwood ridge to my left. And she's looking for me because I was grunting. And the wind was right, so they didn't have... So she starts going up and down and across this ridge like a dog with her nose on the ground. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And with her tail up, just looking for me. She must have run that a 50-yard square like 10 times while I was just standing there. And then I heard another ch-ch in front of me, and the little fawn came out. And I was like, okay. But I knew that other big one was down in there. So I'm just still waiting, and then I hear it coming up through, ch-ch-ch, and I can't see it. And it comes out, and I can't see it, and I finally see the head. It's a good-sized ear, and it's a doe. And I'm like, wow, dang. So I just, sit there and play with it. I just still am looking around like, I can't believe there's not a buck with these. But after a while, I figured out there wasn't. And I kind of just went around and actually, no, they took off after a while. And I just went behind them and went right back up in that ridge. I just said, there's an old winter road up above me. I said, I'm just going to swing up to that and run that winter road because that buck had to come out of there somewhere. So that's what I did. Got up on the winter road, started running that, saw a track. It looked old and melted. So I just went by it, went 1/2 mile, and I was like, man, should have come out by now. I was like, it must be that track back there. So I went back, got on that track, and then I could see, but it was out in the sun where it was melting, and man, those age fast. And the way the snow rounds and everything. But so he went up into now we're getting up on the ridge, and he goes into a cut. It's cut, but now it's cut bad, but it's like 5 years old. And we get in this cut. Now I could see him good where he's moving a little bit, chasing this deer. Now I'm like, wow, that's pretty good track. And I don't get in that cut 100 yards, and I see tracks coming back at me. And I'm just like, oh, they're chasing in here. Now they're coming back this way. So now I'm getting really excited. These are really fresh tracks. And so I knew they were chasing, so I just kept staying on the outside of the tracks, basically. And I just kept, their tracks would be over here coming from this way, tracks coming from the other way. They were just all through that cut chasing. And I just have my head up walking through this cut. Just awesome scenario you'd hope for, you could just tell they'd been all through there. But I just stay on the outside of them on the upper side. The wind's perfect, thankfully. And then we're kind of on this flat, but up above us is this steep ridge. And you could see that thing, and I'm like, well, they could easily be done chasing and just be up laying there looking at me. So I'm trying to keep an eye on that ridge. You could see it good. It probably goes up 200 or 300 feet, but it's pretty wide open. And so I get through that whole flat part of that cut where they chased everywhere, and I get where the steep meets the flat, and I'm just chasing that. I'm not even on their tracks, and I'm like, well, I'm just kind of looping. And
hang on a minute. Hold that thought.
Drama.
That you, Jerry?
That's me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You listen in. Logan's right in the hot point in his story there, so just hang on a minute.
All right, sounds good.
So, yeah, we were just in that flat where those deer were chasing around that buck and that doe, and I could see it's a good buck. And like I said, I just stayed on the outside of the track, so I'm just looping, don't get caught up in that barnyard. And I just keep chasing the edge of that steep ridge, and then lo and behold, there's their tracks going up that ridge, and I'm like, oh man, they probably already busted me. I was trying to keep an eye on it, but so I just start going up that steep ridge and chasing their tracks, and then I kind of get off them a little bit so I can get up where I want to, so I can see as I crest that. And I just start cresting that little ridge, and it like I said, it's cut bad. Now it's like 5 years old, so the whips are thick up there. And I just start cresting that ridge, and I could see another pretty ridge out in front of me that's like 120 yards off, so I'm really looking that over. I'm like, what a perfect spot to see them kind of walking away or something. I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at everything around me, but in front of me, all of a sudden, we're on this like plateau, this little edge, right? I'm trying to think of the right term for it, but it's probably 50 yards by 50 yards. It's just like this little lip or something up on this ridge, and it's all just thick whips. So I'm looking at way out there as best I can. I'm looking, and I just slowly creeping up over that edge, and then just all of a sudden out of nowhere, just like hell breaks loose. Like it just got crazy that those deer jumped up, and they were right in front of me, like 20 yards, 25 yards. There was like one little softwood tree out in those thick whips, and they were underneath that. And but it's so thick. I mean, just stuff's going everywhere. I see some tails, and I got my gun up. I'm ready, and they're going away from me. And it's so I see the tails, and I could see it was a buck, but I couldn't. They were so close. There wasn't much I could do. And I got my gun up, got my bead just around them, and then kind of at the last second before they hit a lip, if they had kept going straight, I don't think I would have had a shot. But he kind of bails off to the right for half a second, and when he did, I had it right on him, and just popped him right there, and I hit him that first shot. And while he's jumping, it was probably like 30 yards, 35 yards, and then he did a huge swing, and he went like you'd take a four-wheeler and went up the side of the other side of that ridge. It's just like going when you take a gravel pit. He went up that and came down and ended up going like 15 yards in front of me, and I was just shooting the whole time. I don't know how many times I hit him, but plenty.
He did a rainbow.
Yeah.
We used to call it.
It was like a question mark by the time he got done. And so he bailed down over the other steep ridge and got hung up in some trees there. And there he was. It was about 2.5 miles, and I think I went in at 7:30, or I think I left Dad at like 8. It was 11:30 when I got him, but so it was.
That's a good place for an intermission.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
So hold your story a minute.
Okay.
Hey, Hal here. I want to talk a little bit about our partnership with OnX Hunt. I've been using it for a while now, and if anybody knows me, they know I'm not a very techie person, but the OnX app is it's a real time saver. I remember the days when we poured over topo maps everywhere we was going to go and stuff, and I don't do that quite as much anymore. Where it's really helped me is scouting, whether it's deer scouting, or moose, or even turkey hunting in the spring, which I do. It really helps out. I don't have to spend as much time running around the truck burning up the gas. I'm just basically using my OnX. Got it on my phone. Don't even carry a GPS anymore. So I just download the areas where I'm going to be hunting, whether it's up north moose hunting, and I use it mostly on the satellite imagery. I like to see the the cuts and the clearings and the turkey hunting, the hidden fields and stuff. But everybody's using it now, from the game wardens to land surveyors, and just a great tool. And with our partnership with onX, if you use a code BWB, you're going to receive 20% off on your first premium or elite memberships. And you just go to onxmaps.com/hunt. You'll be glad you did. Good luck on the trail.
Hi everyone, Big Woods team member Mark Sheeran here. Many of you know that I have a passion for helping people solve their addictions permanently. As a matter of fact, me and my team have spent the last 31 years helping more than 20,000 people move on from their addictions. So know this, if you or someone you love want to move on from an addiction for good, and you don't want to be stuck in a rehab or 12-step meetings or endless therapies, then you might want to learn about the Freedom Model and the St. Jude Retreat. To learn more, give us a call at 888-424-2626. All calls are confidential. Here's that number again, 888-424-2626, or go to soberforever.net for more information. I really look forward to helping you end your addictions for good. Here's that number one last time, 888-424-2626. Take care.
So for all of you listeners there, I had scheduled in a call here at during this podcast, and it's Jerry Smith, the client of mine that I was telling you about, that's got the financial planning business, and I want him to come on for just a little bit and shoot the breeze with us and explain what he's doing a little bit, and we'll go from there. You there, Jerry?
I'm here. I'd be mad if you cut me off listening right in the middle of a good buck story to talk about finances.
I know. Everybody's probably clicking off now.
Everyone's going to hate you, Jerry. It's all your fault.
Yeah.
You sound good, Jerry.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that really made my day, though, because I'm full on into a work day, and I had no idea that I was going to be walking right into the middle of the story. And I got in right about when he was coming up the little ridge and on the edge of the barnyard. So that really shocked the system to go right from financial planning to a great buck story. So made my day.
That's fired up.
Yeah. So, anyways, I got your introduction in there, but I just wanted to shoot the bull with you a little bit and bring people up to speed. I didn't think I could explain what you do very well, other than, from listening to you as we're deer hunting and stuff and talking things over. But, so if you didn't know, Jerry's been, this will be your third year coming up. You've hunted with me 2 years, right, Jerry?
Correct, yep.
Coming again.
19 and 20.
Coming again this year. I don't know why. He must like me or something, but.
Yeah, I don't know either, actually.
Yeah.
But we're going to give her another go.
I can't seem to get you a buck, but you keep coming back.
Well, we just, 1 year we had snow that was about a little bit over our knees and every day. And one day we didn't even hunt because we had so much on Thanksgiving. And then last year we couldn't buy snow. So it's just how it goes.
Yeah, I let you come on muzzleloader season instead of the second week when it was warm, and it was colder muzzleloader season, but we still didn't have any snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. But
Are you a Green Bay fan, Jerry?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So do you want them to keep Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers or not?
Yeah, I'd love them to keep Brett Favre. I wish he would come back. Yeah.
Shows how much it's ingrained.
No, obviously you want a guy like that to come back. He's a Hall of Famer, and his skill set is great. But it's no different than it's always been with Rodgers and the Packers. They just both sides got to bend a little bit, and I'm just you don't know how much is actually stuff that's going on either, or just the media trying to jab things and make stories. But yeah, I think they'll figure it out. So
I just wanted to throw that in because I know how much it irritates Hal to talk about football.
I was getting ready to give him the hook, Jerry.
All right, now we're on to snowmobiling.
You can see it in his eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hear the word snowmobile one more time before
I was just going to say
before next
that.
December.
Shed hunt? Can we talk about shed hunt now?
Yeah, you can, but not on a snowmobile. Oh, shoot.
Sorry, Jerry. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I wasn't. No, that's all good.
Yeah. Jerry, before you got a few minutes?
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah. I just wanted you to tell a quick story about one of our deer hunts, that's all, just so people get to know you a little bit.
Well, the stories I want to share, I really shouldn't, but no, I'll share one that was the best. It was when Hal was sharing some of his stories, and Hal, I'll preface this, was like, I won't share the story. So the story goes is that Hal was able to share some of the stories that he's had over the years with chasing deer, and the point is, when you can get to hear some of the stories and behind the scenes of Hal that don't even make it to the podcast, those are pretty cool stories to be able to have the lowdown on. So I think that's pretty enjoyable. So that's one good one, and we even talked about it in the we do those little videos or whatever afterwards, and so I'm sworn to secrecy on some of those things. But that's probably the best personal experience that I've had is hearing some of those stories and having the time to get those stories in. But let's the other one I'd like to share quickly is that, Hal always talks about his sandwich at 10 and 2 in his books and his writings and everything. And one day and this was in 2019, so the snow was pretty deep and pretty rough, and that day we got on a track right at about 7:00 in the morning, and we pounded all day because it was that day, Hal, that buck was just dogging that doe and just running and running and running. And we walked all day, and that's the day that I was just like thinking to myself, this guy doesn't want to stop. He just doesn't stop walking ever. I just wanted to trip him or kick a leg out from under him just so we could take a break for a minute, right? And about 1:00, he turns around and looks at me and says, "This is the day that we eat our sandwich on the go." I'm sitting there thinking, we missed our 10:00 sandwich 3 hours ago already. And so anyhow, he says, "What do you want to do? You want to eat a sandwich or not?" And I said, "Whatever. It's up to you." I said, "Why don't we get to the next trickle?" Because that's how if anybody's ever hunted in Maine, that's the guys that haven't, that's one of the coolest things about Maine is that the water comes right out of the ground there, and there's trickles all over, and you just grab a plastic bag and take a swig. So it's the best water you'll drink. But anyhow, that happens to be another hour goes by before we get another trickle. So at 2:00, we finally eat our first sandwich. We've been walking since 7. Got on a track right out of the truck in the morning, and then lo and behold, we caught up with those deer right when we finished our sandwich at about 2:15. And if we would have just had the connection of 2 points, because we came up over a little knoll, and then right down under this knoll they were laying in some blowdowns, and then they went down into a valley, and if we would have sped up a little bit or caught them going into that on either side of that point that we connected with them, we actually saw the doe. She kind of made a circle back to our left, but that buck went right down the valley out of sight behind that blowdown. We never got a crack at him. But yeah, so that's a good story for a lot of reasons, that Hal just keeps going and going, and he was spot on with his assessment that we needed to keep up with it. But we did get our sandwich in, so.
We ate a big supper that night.
Yeah, I don't remember what we ate.
But it was big.
Yeah. Well, it was Tuesday, so what's the meal on Tuesday?
Oh, that's got to be them stuffed pork loins or something, huh? Or the pork butt or whatever it is. It's pork on Tuesday.
That was a Tuesday of 19, so that's what dinner would have been.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
All right. Well, can you brief people on what you're doing? I know you're good at what you do, and you've explained a bunch of stuff to me, but I know I can't really explain it, but there's a lot of people listening, I'm sure, want to retire and maybe need a little help doing that or something. So I think you're the guy to help them. I've known you long enough to know that you're not going to bull crap people,
Yeah, so I can share quickly a little bit about the work that we're doing and how we're helping people. So most of the people that work with us, they've done a pretty good job of saving and being smart with their finances and things, and then they get to a point like a few years before retirement or in or near retirement, and they're just really trying to figure out that retirement picture. They're trying to figure out when they should turn on Social Security, how they should get their health care done if they're going to retire early. They're worried about taxes and pulling money from the wrong accounts, or how they're going to get their income needs met on a daily basis. So there's just a lot of things that go into that retirement planning process. So over the years, I've been doing this for quite a few years, and I've developed a trademark process called the Northern Way Retirement GPS. And ironically enough, or not ironically, I mean, that is kind of, a lot of that is built similar to Hal's system, and that's why I've named it the GPS for hunting, is that, Hal wrote a book that it's a process or a system. So that's what we have for helping people with that retirement planning, is a process that, gets them from where they're at to where they want to go, and kind of takes care of all those things in retirement. So whether it be their investments or their income plan, and really the benefit to them is they know that they're going to hit all their retirement goals, and that box is checked, and they can spend their time doing what they want to do, which is, for most of us here, it's get in the woods and chase big bucks. So
Maybe. Jerry, last Friday, I liquidated everything that I have, and I put it all in Dogecoin because I thought you were going to say Bitcoin. No, Dogecoin, because Elon was going to blow it up on Saturday Night Live. So is that a good plan?
How'd it turn out?
So I cannot give investment advice, and so I got to have disclosures here. But no, that's dumb. Don't do that.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to pull it back out then.
You're a little late, Joe.
Did you hear what happened like last night or this morning?
No.
Yeah, with Bitcoin.
Elon said that he's not accepting Bitcoin
I didn't see
for
the headline.
Tesla.
Yeah. He's driving it all down
because it takes too much fossil fuels to mine Bitcoin. So, that's the.
Well, when you buy something that hinges on one person's word.
Yeah.
I guess that's what happens. But I hadn't seen. Did it drop like a rock?
I don't. I think it dropped a little bit. I don't know if it was like a rock, but.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more, it kind of plays along with how important what you do is, because, if it's not your forte, it's not something that you do or follow, or spend a lot of time at every day. It's pretty intimidating with everything going on, and, where to invest or how to plan. And so I think it really speaks to what you're doing. Talk to someone that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and especially in today's world, you're absolutely right on that, Joe, because there's a lot of things that have changed. You've got this digital world where everybody's got all this information. They can get together and kind of sway markets like we're seeing with Reddit. But, everybody can trade their stocks for free. So it's like, that's what I was just telling a guy this morning. It's like people can now go to the casino, the stock market, or this cryptocurrency casino, and they don't even have to pay the gas money to get there anymore. So you've got a lot of digital things happening in the investment world that are, I don't know how it shakes out long term, but we just have to be aware of them. It's a lot different than it ever used to be. So and crypto's interesting, but the thing with these cryptocurrencies is, if you invest in Apple or Google, they own cash and they produce things, and there's some underlying value to those investments, where cryptocurrencies are just, volatile currencies.
Something
and the whole
fit
premise. And so, with a currency, the whole point of a currency is that you have stability to it, right? So that's what's confusing me, is like, how would you pay $70,000 in cryptocurrencies for a car, and that $70,000 you just had as a business could be worth $300 tomorrow? So I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff and that's going to gain some traction long term, but it's still it's an infancy and pretty confusing stuff. But
it sounds like you do more. Do you do a lot of investing then, Steve, or is it you help people more as they retire handle?
It's Jerry, not Steve.
Jerry, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jerry.
That's all right, Henry.
Thank you. I was waiting for that. I feel like every time we talk to somebody on here, it's a Steve.
That is Logan, isn't it?
Yeah. I almost didn't guess, but I went for it. I should have said John or Mark or something, but
he doesn't invest money for people that don't know his name.
That's right. Yeah. It sounds like you do some investing, Jerry, but is it mostly helping people as they are getting to that retirement, figure out how to spend their money and what insurances to supplement and things like that? I only ask because I talked to the guy that does similar things to what you do the other day. So
yeah. So the thing with my business model is that like any business, you have to have your bread and butter, like your go-to, so you can you don't. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're nothing to anybody type of thing. But
right.
For that younger client, like I do have a handful of younger clients, and anybody that's especially on this podcast or needs some help with that, I'll get you pointed in the right direction and certainly help out. So somebody that's younger and just building up, that process is the same, but you just have to focus on different parts of that. So where you have somebody that's 25 or 30, for example, we're set up to help that person in the accumulating wealth and places to save it and places to invest it that are proven and that just kind of the fundamentals of investing. Mm-hmm. So we can help those folks out as well. And they just got a little different thing that somebody that's in or near retirement where they've done that saving and now they need to really have a withdrawal strategy on their savings and be smart about taxes. So
right.
does that answer your question, Logan? I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking.
Yeah, your bread and butter, most of your customers are as they're getting near retirement, as you said. But yeah, you can also send younger and other people in the right direction in investing and building wealth. Yeah.
Good question, because I was just going to mention that too to you, Jerry, but you got it covered. So
if you're 25, There's a long-term plan. If you're 65, put it all on red in Vegas and let it roll.
If anybody cannot tell, do not ask Joe about anything.
This is why they need you, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All
How
right.
about you go buy a resort in Jackman, Maine? Oh, wait, you did.
Not a good plan either.
That's the same thing.
No. Hey, that's living the dream. That's probably the smartest thing. Get the hell out of the city and do what you love. So that's the point.
Things like the market and all that. I like things that I can touch and feel. Real estate.
Hey, I got to share a tent with you this fall. I don't want to answer.
You're going to be my investment this fall, Lee?
You'll find out that the dividends aren't very good.
A little hairy for you, Joe.
Yeah. He's Jerry. Joe's investing in 7600s right now.
I was just going to say that
ago. I'm just trying to sell them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the next. How are you on just in general, Jerry? Your feelings on things like physical assets like precious metals and stuff.
Say that again, Joe. What's the question?
Like things like precious metals, like silver and gold. I mean, those are always going up and down and falling, but it's something you can actually hold. I'm not talking about buying paper stuff, but do you like that kind of stuff?
Yes. So if Ray Dalio, he's out in the East Coast there. He runs a really, really big hedge fund, but he's actually built what's called the all-weather portfolio. And so that portfolio is really based on trying to perform through all market conditions in different sectors of the economies. And one of the things that he has in that portfolio is commodities, which, you're going to have exposure to those precious metals and things like that. And a typical way to might own something like that would be through an exchange traded fund or an ETF fund. So you've got some exposure to those type of things that's non-correlated, if you will, that moves a little bit differently than a stock market. So that's where I see most people, holding precious metals is in something that like an ETF, so you can have that exposure to help create some gains in a portfolio, but also be able to yet liquidate those precious metals right when you hold it in an ETF. So it's kind of like 7600s. You might have them sitting in the basement, but sometimes if you need to spend those or liquidate them, it might be hard to do. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that pretty much explains it to everybody. Appreciate that, Jerry.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. And if anybody's got any questions, Hal, you'll tell them how to get a hold of me, or they can just.
Why don't you tell them right now?
Yeah. Don't rely on me, Jerry.
So yeah, the easiest way is, and a couple of guys have already done that, is just to send me a text or a call. The cell phone number is 715-551-4181, 715-551-4181. Or an email is easy too. It's J Smith, so the letter J Smith, my last name, and then Northern Way WM, so the Northern Way WM for wealthmanagement.com. So yeah, just shoot me a call or a note if somebody needs some help, and I'll do my best to get you guys pointed in the right direction. So
all right, appreciate it. You can stay on the phone if you want, so Logan finishes his story if you want to stay on, and you won't have to wait till next Monday to get this.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to finish the buck story here. So.
All right, Logan, you're up.
Okay, well.
So anyways, you got him into him, and he's running by you, and he did this big J hook.
Yeah, I saw I hit him. Yeah, he did this, big J hook. Came out in front of me, was just barreling down through the maple whips there, and then went down off the cliff, basically, almost. It was pretty steep. And, I was just super excited. Emptied my gun. And
I do the same thing. As long as they're on their feet, I'm shooting.
Why? Yeah, I can't think of one reason why you'd stop shooting. I guess protect a tiny bit of meat, but what if you don't get them? That would suck. So, I was taking pretty good video the whole time. I went down and checked to make sure I got them, but I'm trying to help do this for Big Woods Buck. So I started taking video and texted some of my buddies, and I got into the video.
Wait a minute. Texting?
Well, on the
InReach?
InReach.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Actually, I did kind of have service there, but it was on the InReach because they have InReachs too. I'm sorry. And so
you're texting and calling in for help.
Well, and I had my VHF, so I got a hold of one of my buddies, and he got back to me. I'd started video, and he got back to me, and the VHF was messing up the video. So I did something with my camera, and then I went to call him back. Well, I went and made what I thought was this awesome video after that, but I'd shut the camera off. It didn't record it.
Couldn't you just have waited to text out before, till after?
Well, I can't remember when I did the text, but
I got it.
I did have the radio.
You were caught up in the moment, weren't you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I turned the camera on, so I don't know if I hit it or if I did it and I just forgot, but it was a beautiful spot. You could see out over that whole huge swamp. It was super cool, but anyway, I got a lot up to that, and I got him when we hung him up, but so that was all good. But so anyway, the best thing is the crew. The crew came out and got up in there, and we dragged them out. It was probably a mile or so, maybe. Pretty much all downhill. That was nice. We was bringing the sled out, and by the time we got down, that was one, and everybody went out back hunting, and then we went out and I always want to weigh them that night with the crew and just wait for everybody.
I got to interrupt you for just a second. Did you gut the deer out, or did you get one of your buddies?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure you gutted your own deer out.
I did. Actually, that was the first time I had zero instruction of any kind. When there's experts around, I always like to ask them. So, but yeah, no, and it sounds like the crew is leaving the nuts on, so I did that for the weight. Even though I say we all cut them off. All right, I'm up for that if everybody wants to be in on that. But
hey, the rule is all internal organs.
Okay.
What part of that don't you understand?
As long, I guess we're on the same page, but so I left them. And, but anyway, waited for the crew. And it's just so fun going out with the crew to weigh them, you know. I mean, it was warm. I'm like, man, this thing's probably bleeding out. But anyway, we went out together. It was great, and weighed them up. And I've got that on video, and, you know, it came up. They all had guesses, and they're all
guessing low, I bet.
Always. They always guess low. And
I
won't throw out a guess because I just won't do that on my own. Maybe that makes me a whatever, but...
They guess low because they look at the horns.
The horns, exactly.
Right, Joe?
Exactly.
That and we always put my deer in a sled, and it makes them look, it crunches them up. And by the time they come out, it's like an accordion. All of a sudden, this great big long deer's coming out of there. And it's the same thing when we get to the weighing station, everybody guessing is. And it was a big crew guessing again there.
They were probably all under 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was one or two running around there, and
Now, wait a minute. I gotta interrupt you again. When you got the deer with me, you asked me how much it would weigh. Did I tell you how much it was going to weigh?
Yeah, right what I thought it was going to weigh. Yeah.
And if I hadn't pulled the antler off, it would have been perfect.
That's right. Yeah. No, I think we were all three of us were right on it. Yeah, we didn't. But we figured it over early in the season. We'd have been over too. But
Oh yeah.
I honestly the deer. You know, I thought he was fairly long. But his track and his stride, I could see. I said that's definitely a 200-pound. I mean, it was early in the season. The rut hadn't been going on much yet, so I knew that was good. But so anyway, weighed him up. It was, by the time I saw the scale, it was 223. So that's what I got on video too. So a funny thing is, with the contest, right? We were 1 point in between.
You and Timmy.
Me and Timmy, right? So I went back. I just, we weighed it up, and it was a great time, and we brought it back to the camp, and my buddy Matt's got a scale, and he's like, "Oh, I want to try this thing out." So we weighed it, and said 235 on his, and I texted Joe. I was like, "What do you think? Should I take it to a third station?" He's like, "Yeah, I'd go get that thing checked out." And I took it over to, I shot him on Friday. Monday, I took him over to place of Jackman. What's it?
Bishop's Store.
Bishop's. Yeah, 223 right on the nose. That was 3 days later.
Yeah.
But so then I went back the next Friday, and I had forgotten to get. I keep forgetting to get my patches. I don't know what I do with the patch, but I guess it'd be nice to have. But I haven't gotten either of my patches yet. I get the thing, and I sent one in like a year and a half later, and they didn't send me anything back. And
don't worry about that. I ain't sent one in since 2000.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd do with a patch. But anyway, I figured I'd stop in and see him and just and get my. She goes, "Oh yeah, I filled a thing out for you, but you left, so I threw it away." And so she went to start filling it out, and I actually got it right here. And she said, "What'd that weigh?" And I was like, 223. And she was like, "No, it doesn't." Or no, she started writing that down. She's like, "No, that's not what I put down. That's not what I said." So, Joe, can you tell me what it says on there?
It says 212. Well, it says 224.
Right.
Yeah, it's scratched out.
Exactly.
So-
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah,
I did see that when I just looked.
I wonder why Logan wanted to drive over here and do this podcast in person so
He
bad.
brought the proof with him, huh?
Yeah. So there it is. Anyway, that would
You know what we call that, Logan? Too little, too late.
I'm not trying to claim it. I
no, I
wanted
thought
to freak out Timmy on the other end.
Yeah.
No, because honestly, if I wanted to say that, I would have said it earlier. But when I saw it, it was 223, and I call it 223. But it was just funny that it was 1 point. I said, I won't even. And in my heart, I was like, that's a 223-pound deer. I'm not like.
Yeah.
Even on the video, as it turns, you see it. It's 223. So I don't know if she saw 224 when it first came up, because she did say it.
Yeah.
But
sometimes the one up here, you got to wait till it settles in. It'll flick back.
I
and
think
forth
that's what happened.
A few
Yeah.
pounds or something
So
like
next-
that.
I just
next
really
year-
wanted Timmy, as he was listening to this, to freak out inside for a second.
Yeah. The funny
Are you
part
freaking, Timmy?
was
Yeah.
you see, it was the same as the one up to Pittston Farm. You must have went the first
Yeah.
time.
Right. Yeah.
So it could have lost. I mean, usually if they hung 3 days, they've lost a little bit.
Right.
Wait.
So, and again, there's nothing you can do about that if they're official tagging station and they're supposed to have their scale certified.
I'm not worried about it at all. Like Timmy won that fair and square, and that's a huge thing that he paid my next thing. I really appreciate that. But I just thought it'd be fun for the podcast to build some drama, you know. But
it is pretty amazing.
Well, actually,
it's that close.
Have them that close.
Yeah.
Hey, Hal here. Just want to take a minute to talk about the hunting club. And you can join by going right online at bigwoodsbucks.com. But anyways, I've got all my information is going in there. And it's a place where you can get together and look at my films, tips, writings, and all of that. And the best part is there's forums for you to communicate with, the rest of the club members, talk about Bigwood stuff and all of that. So anyways, $36 a year, cheaper than getting a Starbucks once a day. So join up and hope you see you on there.
Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a 4-season lodge located just south of Jackman. We've got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlinlodge.com.
I'll explain that. It's like you were talking about how you left the nutsack and everything on.
Yeah, right.
Well, and as close as it was with Timmy, that could have been the difference.
Right, maybe
now,
he didn't. So
if the deer was built like Hal, it wouldn't make any difference. But it's built like me, that could be a lot.
So are we leaving the scoring the same this year? We're not adjusting anything for the season?
No.
All right.
We're not going to mess around with it. I think it actually adds to the excitement because
I love it.
When we heard that you'd got a 223-pounder, and I thought, well, geez, somebody's going to have to really get a big buck to beat that. But
except for the horns.
Timmy made up for it in antlers. But I think that's kind of a cool way to do that.
I love it. I just didn't know if they wanted it. Somebody had talked about adjusting, getting extra points if it was earlier in the season or something.
Nah, you can't do that.
No.
That's what I figured.
If you're thinking about that, you better take your time earlier and hunt early if that's what you're interested in.
Nope.
The horns don't shrink, so whatever time of year you get them,
that's true.
That's what they're going to be.
Mm-hmm. It's part of it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's
all right. That's pretty cool. You still there, Jerry? He's left us.
I'm here. I just had her on mute.
Oh, okay.
I had to get it off mute.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just wrapping things up now, Jerry. It was good talking to you. If you want to go about your business there, we had a couple of housekeeping things, and we're going to wrap this podcast up.
All right. Sounds good. You guys have a good day.
Yep. Steve, have a good day, Steve.
Yeah.
Jeez. There's a guy I know from right where you're from, Jerry, that talks exactly like you do, and his name is Steve. I was thinking about him, and it just came out. My bad. Shoot.
Well, maybe that's going to be his new nickname for this fall when
Steve.
he shows up.
There. Jerry, a.k.a. Steve.
Yeah. It's not Terry, it's Jerry.
I didn't say Terry.
Oh, I thought you said Terry.
I hope not. Jeez. Play it back.
And it's spelled Jere, so to confuse even more, Logan. So there you go.
We call him Jer.
I just blew it.
Yeah, it's just Jer.
Jer.
Jerry.
All right. What's the housekeeping things we got to do? Oh, we got to talk about the Father's Day special.
Yep, we've got those cutting boards. I actually just got a couple here.
Yep.
I'm taking home. They're actually pretty nice.
With a big boy drop tine buck on them.
Yep.
2 sizes. I don't know what the prices are on them. They're on the website. So if you need something for Father's Day to get your father or make a hint for your wife, whatever you want to do, get them ordered up. I think the deadline is towards the end of the month here. You got a little bit more time if you want to get your cutting boards, cheese boards, whatever you want to use them for. Horty hors, I call them, the hors d'oeuvres. And but they're on the Big Woods website anyways. What else
also,
we got?
Yeah, there was, we wanted to mention, both my kids work, my daughter works over at Chimbro full-time. Chimbro, for those that aren't from Maine or don't know, they're a big contracting company here in the state. They actually
Construction company.
Construction company, yeah. They do jobs all over the country, but they're mostly based here in the Northeast. And my daughter works there full time, and my son is working there full time through the summer. He's done some internship there and stuff. But at any rate, they reached out to us, and as anyone that's in business knows right now, labor is increasingly difficult to find these days, which is amazing because they tell us that everyone's got to have stimulus money to get by because there's no jobs. But meanwhile, businesses are closing down because they can't find any help. So anyway, Chimbro reached out, and they just wanted us to put it out there. They're looking for people through all aspects of the business they're a real good company. They're I know, just from personal experience, listen to the kids that they are a good company to be there for long term. And anyone out there looking might want to check it out.
I went to UMO for construction management engineering, and I almost did an internship with Chimbro, but I said I had to quit lobstering, which makes sense, obviously.
Yeah.
You just got to chase them around. But everything I looked into was really, really good stuff, and it was really good pay for an internship too. But it's good experience for sure. So
that's a public service announcement for today. So if anybody looking for work, any of you guys getting out of school, graduating, and want to get started in some kind of construction field or whatever, look them up. Other than that, what else we got going on? We got to go to check our YouTube stuff out.
Yeah, when you go on our YouTube channel, if you're not already subscribed, just be sure and hit that subscribe button, and you can click on the bell there. It'll give you notifications every time something is downloaded, which hasn't been too much lately. We got a few videos in the making.
And I think Chris told me my moose video is supposed to be out in a couple of weeks.
Oh, nice.
Okay, good.
That'd be sweet.
We got some things going on again.
I'll have to get my stuff over to,
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were telling your story about the camera being on or off, that's what happened on my moose hunt to Alaska. Is when my buddy was filming on my moose, he did the same thing. He turned it off. I mean, and it was the part you can see is we had this bull working, kind of coming up, and we're looking for him as he's coming through, and I turn to my right and I see him coming up the hill, and you get the part where I said, "Oh, there he is," and I pulled up, and the second the gun goes off, he turns the camera off. So we're gonna make something out of it.
You could make a movie like half them ones I've been watching on YouTube with them moose hunts.
Yeah, exactly. Just walking.
People do the same stuff. Crazy.
What happened to the mountain deer guys? They haven't been putting anything out for a while.
I think it's just out of season, probably.
Yeah. And so all of us deer fans, we're short on material right now.
That time of year.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it's editing too. Like, I got a new guy that's coming on doing some editing, and I already talked about him doing, some of my clinic stuff. So, and I've got a few, like one day, I call it a day on the track with me. They had a couple of days of hunting there that's got to get edited, and I think what we're going to start doing is pulling like a film off the hunting club and throwing it on YouTube, and then I'm going to add some more to the hunting club and try to keep things freshened up. But this is between editing and this time of year. We always notice towards spring that people are getting interested in fishing and vacationing and all that stuff. But
are you done with the clinics?
Yep. So we're done with that, and we did some filming on it, and like I said, we're going to use some of that for like teaching moments and stuff like that. So next thing you know, fall will be here.
Mm-hmm. I did want to say one thing. I was thinking about our fearless leader, Chris Dalty. He, as I was talking earlier, just being a Christian man, I guess, he is the ultimate example. I know we beat on him a little bit for not getting up here hunting, but he's at home just being a awesome dad and husband, and has a lot going on. And Chris, cut this out if you want, but his taking care of his father, who's really old, and he's just really doing his he's just really always the example when he comes up here at these get-togethers we have. He's just like constantly serving everybody, and you know, for shooting, he just wants to constantly help people, and I just wanted to thank him and appreciate him for that and everything he does. So
yeah, he is. He's been like that as long as I've known him. You know,
yeah.
He's given up a lot of his time hunting, and I've seen him like take someone else out at the expense of going himself before.
That's a big deal.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that too, Logan, because I meant to call Chris and Sam the other day, but first of all, Chris is an unsung hero of this podcast, because we wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for what Chris does.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's the driver. You know, he pushes. But
he makes sure we don't goof nothing up.
Which we goof it up all the time.
We do anyway.
Total screw-ups, but
he fixes some of it.
He can only fix so much. Yeah. But I wanted to talk about how this was told to me secondhand, but I think it's about right, is when Sam just went on a turkey hunt, and he had the fortune of being able to go with one of the New England Patriot football players, and so the way they did it is they paired up the hunters, the kids. They sent 2 kids with each player, and so what they did is they did a coin toss to see which of the kids would be able to shoot first. And Sam won the coin toss, but because he shot a turkey before and the other kid hadn't, he gave up the spot and told the other kid he should shoot first. And I thought that was really, spoke a lot about Sam. And
yeah, he got that from Chris.
That's a reflection of his dad.
That's what I mean, right?
No question,
And so, I thought and they both ended up shooting birds that day. So it was, I thought it was especially for a young man Sam's age, to do that. Because when you're a kid, you just want to shoot and be the one, and so it was. I was pretty impressed when I heard that,
especially in front of a 3-time Pro Bowl, Super Bowl champ. I think it was Matt Light.
Yeah,
you just want to show him your stuff. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So
rumor has it, young Sammy might be doing a little editing work and stuff for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's taking an interest in it, so
that's cool.
Trying to learn that stuff.
That would be great too.
He told Chris, he said, when do I get to be the CEO?
Chris probably said anytime.
He's a good young man, and he'll do whatever he wants to do.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, all right then. This has been a good podcast. We've been around the horn doing about everything on this one, but it was fun.
Yeah, yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. And like I said, support our sponsors. Follow us around on Facebook or YouTube and all of that. And good luck on the trail. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.